Welcome, everybody. We're going to give it 1 or 2 minutes to allow a few more people to join. Right. I think, guys, this is going to be it for the foreseeable future. Welcome, everybody, to this office hours run by a fantastic panel of champions that I'm honored to work with today on Marketo Engage. As per usual, I'll go through a little bit of housekeeping to start us off with. As with every user group, there are some house rules. So no self-promotion or pitching of any kind during the user group. Please don't contact people outside of the user group without their consent. And if user group members share their use cases, please treat that as confidential. So don't share that unless they explicitly tell you that you can. This session is being recorded. So if you don't wish to participate in a live recorded session, you can always sign off right now, and the recording will be shared with you after the session. If you have any questions about that, contact the advocacy team and they will be able to tell you more. Now, every month we hold one of these champion office hours. So if you want to stay up to date on when the next session is and sign up, go to the mugs.marketo.com, sign up for the champion office hours mug, and you will get notifications up front. And of course, when it comes to Adobe events in the near future, we can't really get away from raising the fact that next month, Adobe Summit will be happening in Las Vegas, April 19th to 22nd. Registration is live. The earlier you book, the better the price. So register early, and we hope to see you there. On the 19th, that's actually a pre-summit day where there's opportunities to learn. If you register for a course on that 19th, you can get a $100 discount off your training seat by using the discount code in the bottom left. So if you want to brush up on your knowledge for any of the Adobe platforms, use that code and leverage the opportunity. AI, of course, is a hot topic in the domain. So Experience League now has an AI community that you can join to learn how others are using AI, ask questions, share your ideas, and stay connected and follow what's going on in the world of AI in the B2B marketing space. So, just scan the QR code and it will take you to that community. Now, I left this slide in. There's one session left next week in Melbourne for the Adobe AI Forum. Again, AI, hot topic. So discover the new insights and what's next for marketing and AI in the eyes of Adobe. For Melbourne, you can still register. If you're quick and you happen to be in the vicinity of Dallas, you can still do that one as well. And this is a specific user group series, the Champion Office Hours, but of course there's many, many more, both in person and virtual. In the US, there's actually several happening where I have to say I'm actually a little bit annoyed that next week I can't make the March 18th one, which is virtual with an Ask Me Anything with Inga Romanoff and Sandy Whiteman. That should be really interesting. And outside of the Americas, there's also many, many more in Japan. Switzerland is just been, but London Foundational Virtual one. There's one in Germany happening today too. And as per always, Adobe are really keen to get your feedback. So share your experience about Marketo and receive a $25 gift card if you do that either on G2 or on Trust Radius. Again, scan the QR code and you'll be able to get to that portal, leave behind your review. Would be much appreciated. So without further ado, let me get to the panel for today, for this office hours. I'll be your host and moderator, and I'll leave it up to Pierre, Ruchi, Melina, and John to introduce themselves. So Pierre, do you want to go first?
Sure. Thank you, Katja. Hi, everybody. Welcome to this office hour session. My name is Pierre. I'm a Senior Marketing Operations Manager at Optus, based in Sydney. A bit about me. I've got about 20 years experience in marketing automation, CRM lifecycles, engagement, integration. A Marketo user group in Sydney, two-time champion, second year. And yeah, I'm just passionate about helping organizations transferring marketing technology into meaningful customer and business outcomes. So yeah, that's about me.
Ruchi.
Yeah, I can go next. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining today. So my name is Ruchi Lapran. I'm a Senior Marketing Automation Solution Expert at Grazitti Interactive. I'm a second times running champion and certified Marketo business practitioner. I have expertise and like my work is centered around helping organizations to bridge the gap between strategy and execution by turning complex marketing automation challenges into simple, scalable frameworks. So yeah, that's about me.
Melina, do you want to go next?
Sure. Hi, so I'm Melina Chan. I'm from IDP Education Limited. So I am the head of marketing automation in Southeast Asia and also covering North Asia countries such as Hong Kong, Taiwan, and South Korea. So we have two instances on Marketo, both also on a B2C approach with multi-channel. So happy to answer any questions today you have. And I will hand over to John.
Thanks, Melina. Hi, everyone. John Grundy here. I work for Accenture as a senior manager focusing on marketing technology consulting, helping with define, set up, run. Typically, marketing technology that has a bit of an Adobe focus to that, though Marketo Engage is the longest of my background with over 12 years doing that and 4 times in this champion program. So, happy to be here taking your questions.
Thank you all. Of course, we've received some questions based on your registration forms. So we'll take those as a guide to walk us through the session, but feel free to add your questions in the chat and we will weave them into the conversation as we go along. As we've already seen in the introductions and all the community and events that were happening, AI is a big topic. So one of the questions that we got in was, how do you describe the difference between automation and AI? And I think that's a very interesting question that I've come across quite a lot. So Ruchi, can you get us started on that one?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Yes, indeed a hot topic. And everybody's now talking about AI and how we can, implement that into day-to-day operations and how we can combine it with the power of marketing automation tool that we're already using. Like, what is the difference between automation and AI? So a simple way to think about it, it's like automation executes predefined rules. Automation works best when the processes are predictable and they are rule-based. For example, if let's say a lead score, if it reaches a certain threshold, so a life cycle stage should change to MQL and it should notify sales. So no interpretation needed, and automation will handle it perfectly. And when AI comes into the picture, so AI is useful when the task it involves prediction, or there's some pattern recognition. So AI could analyze, your engagement history, your firmographics, type of content consumed, or historical purchases for that matter. We can take an example like this lead has about 52% likelihood of attending a webinar. So these are the basic definitions or descriptions or differences between the two technologies. So AI would make decisions or predictions based on the data available. Both will improve efficiency, but they solve different categories or different types of problems. So that's the major difference.
And would you be able to describe a few hands-on use cases for both?
Yeah, sure. I mean, hands-on use cases, I think it's on the basis of AI assistants that are already present in your MarTech, so you can leverage that. So I'll explain a use case. Basically, what we did for our internal company for one of our clients, basically. So we used the integration between AI and Marketo to solve the data standardization problem that they were facing. So data standardization, I mean, that was a very common issue again, and most of the times we try to attempt it with the help of smart campaigns or executable campaigns, but we incorporated AI for understanding the sequencing or the format of junk data that we were receiving, and we try to create a format for particular, like what should be the right way or right structure of the data. So we fed that through the agents, and then we implemented or integrated with Marketo. So that was the end-to-end relationship between how the AI is cleaning up or doing the first level of cleanup, and how Marketo adapts to it, and then we can use that data further on the for the operational side of the programs. So that is one use case, and also like we have availability of a few powerful features in Marketo, like predictive audiences. And also predictive audiences, it acts as an input agent, basically. So that utilizes the AI/ML models for prioritizing, to scoring, to segmenting leads based on their likelihood to engage with the campaigns. And there's another feature, which is Email Designer. So it's a part of Email Designer, the AI assistant, to assist with the content creation using Gen AI. And there's also prompt library available, which allows you to optimize your content that suits to different tones and styles. So yeah, so these are the common use cases and features available.
Yeah, I think it's also important to distinguish between generative AI and agentic AI, where generative is more focused on generating content. And the agentic AI is way more focused on handling processes with AI and going autonomous, right? And that's where the overlap is, and where the shift is from manual automation, so the setting up automation processes inside Marketo, versus agentic, where it will actually help you execute and add intelligence to that process. Anybody else on the panel have any hands-on use cases and examples?
Yeah, I was thinking it's more comment that it's not either or a lot of the time. So I think the first example which you talked about with the data standardization and checking, something that we've also been doing. I think that's a great use case. Also moving towards that buyer group point of view, or determining kind of influence in of a lead, maybe in a Marketo database, based on seniority or based on the job function that they have, and trying to map those things out. That is something that we use a AI process for, to say, this is a job title, let's work out how senior this person is, what focus they have. But that then is one step in an automation process. So we then take that information and then we keep processing in different ways. So it's not one or the other until you maybe get to an agentic point of view where it could be taking over some of those structured work steps. But I think a lot of companies and a lot of Marketo customers also work a little bit more in regulated areas where there needs to be some deterministic output and some structure and some traceability. So in that way, it's I think always going to be quite a blend of a structured automation process with agentic or AI steps in it that have a bit of its own intelligence to process and give an output.
Yeah,
I think that's a good point. I think from my perspective, it's to take AI with a grain of salt as well. Like, you got to be careful not to overuse and make sure you check what AI is responding to you, right? Do not always trust AI. That would be my 2 cents.
yeah. Thank you. And I'll post another link. So we are, so there's another upcoming user group going to happen on Marketo plus AI. So I'll share the link, and yeah, so if
I think that's a really good opportunity for sure.
Yeah.
Has anybody heard anything about Adobe implementing an MCP connector to get your own AI integrated into the platforms? I don't think so. Let's see what Summit brings on that front.
Yeah, not a direct committed
statement.
statement.
There's this discussion in the background, that's for sure, but it's nothing has come through.
Yeah, exactly. And the term already came up a little bit in Ruchi's explanation, but Melina, can you tell us a little bit more about the features that Marketo had for quite a while already with predictive audiences and predictive content?
Sure, happy to go through. So I think there are two different features, significantly different features. So I talk about predictive audiences first. So if you look at predictive audiences, it uses a combination of machine learning and actually a large language model. And of course, as you know, machine learning was actually historically what forms the basis of all the large language model involvement. So very simply in Marketo today, if you want to use it, it's available in your smart list filter for predictive audiences. You can actually do a quick search on a smart filter. It will give you a number of options. Maybe I talk about the easiest one. So if you feel that you're having a lot of large unsubscribes, you could use it easily to reduce the number of unsubscribes. I do use that quite frequently, especially if it's sending a event invite to a larger group of people. So what it does is that it will actually learn the various profiles that are likely to unsubscribe, and for those that have unsubscribed, and then match back into your smart list, and it would then not send to such a large group of people. So that's what it does. You can actually use it with and without and look at the actual numbers that you can implement. So that is the easiest. Of course, there is one that actually is for a large number of people who are likely to unsubscribe. So then if you want to use that, it's the reverse of trying to re-engage people. I have not used that, but you can actually use that and try out if you are trying to re-engage people who are probably dormant for quite a while. The other two filters will be based upon events, people who are likely to register, people who are likely to attend the event, but be aware that this is actually down to, again, the registration count if you're using the event or interactive webinar. Interactive webinar, you actually cannot use that. But you can use it at an event level. And when you actually do so, you need to have frequently be using this event program. and large numbers of people who are registering attendance and mark the attendance. So over time, it can actually predict what are the likely type of people who will register for the event and what are the people that will attend. And the other one is that you can actually use it on any program. Let's say it's a success, mark as success, and you can actually simulate what is like a similar sort of lookalike kind of model to that. So do try this feature out and see what works best for you. And when it comes to predictive content, so predictive content is actually slightly older product, but I believe it might be reviewed along times. So the predictive content is based upon a catalog of content. So you will have a series of content that you will catalog it. It could be things like a video, it could be an infographic, it could be visuals, it could be an article, etc. And after the cataloging, it is actually used on both the website and the email. And based upon people browsing and using and looking at all these assets of the catalog, you can then insert this into the email, and it's like the likely group of people who most sort of like top content or top 3 content, then it actually appears in your email dynamically based upon the usage and the browsing of people through this content. So this is an example of predictive audiences versus predictive content, which are actually two very, very different things.
True.
Hope that answers.
And I think it's also important to note that for predictive audiences, you have to activate those models in the admin section before you can use those filters.
Good point.
Any other questions from the audience on the AI piece? Can you show us how to do that? Joke, do you mean activating the predictive audiences? Yes, it is possible that I think predictive audiences are actually part of additional package in Marketo. So in the basic platform, it isn't there. That is true. Very good catch, Joko. Moving from the AI into one letter extra, the APIs. There's a lot that you can do with APIs. And John, can you get us started on even a little bit of an introduction on what the possibilities are?
Yeah, so I think over the years I've developed quite a catalog of things I've done with the APIs from Marketo. I do a lot of it via Postman just to help myself accelerate a lot of tasks. So in the past, some of those could have been that I had a bulk list of users to create. So I would just have there's a functionality from Postman called a runner, where you could just kind of run through an Excel and add each person, create a user, assign them the right role, all of those sorts of things. In the past, we've also done a lot of like bulk extract of people want to say, what is the something that was about a certain activity type that happened, how many emails were sent or form submits happened at a certain time. So bulk extracting those across campaigns or across programs is possible then via API. These are kind of ad hoc use cases. Taking that approach of the bulk extract is also something that I think a lot of customers end up doing and taking and storing Marketo activity history data into a data warehouse internally. It also means that you keep that data longer than the data retention policy for some of the different activity types of that Marketo has. Some of that is 90 days, some of it is 25 months for there. I also used to do processes where we had a lot of other systems creating Marketo programs and adding members to that, and it would also activate its smart campaigns. So that whole program clone activation, everything like that would happen from a different platform that some of our marketers were using. So that was one way. Another system was kind of using APIs to create programs and activate these programs. The consequence of that, though, was that we had a lot of active triggers running when we had 300 of these programs happening a month. So I also had a process that I was running that was also extracting those campaigns and then doing a process where I would also deactivate a lot of those past campaigns via the API. Which would have been something that would have taken hours to go through each one, click, wait for it to load, go to the next tab, press deactivate. So anything that you do on bulk, on mass, is a good thing to start thinking and experimenting with the APIs for. And just thinking a few weeks ago, we also did the use case where it was just creating a few lists, but we had 20 lists to do. But rather than creating, right click, create new asset, list, type it in. Again, I use that runner process where we're just able to use our list of names, list of list names, and run through, and it would just create those in a couple of minutes once you've got all your in this case Postman is what I use, but the instance or the Postman set up to do that. So yeah, a lot of things you can do there.
It's actually a good example of the automations that we were just comparing with the AI as well, right?
Exactly.
Has any of you, with a very specific question, and I'll take two together. Before the webinar, we got a question in on registration. Does anybody have tips of working with the API between Marketo and Cvent?
Yeah, that is something I've done twice with that. Both times when talking to the Cvent team, they had their own kind of technical team that would develop a lot of the workflow and process that connected Marketo to Cvent and events. I think some of the advice there would be to really understand what you need to achieve. I think both times that I did it were quite different in setup. One was using a lot more of the native event programs in Marketo and storing registrations and program membership there. Another time we did it, it was storing more as custom object data for event attendance. Different reasons why. Also then that's the one bit. I think work out what process you want, what the purpose of Cvent is, and how you want that data into Marketo, and how you need to use that for kind of the rest of the experience you're trying to orchestrate. Another part I would say to be very mindful of is the data transfer back and forth. So I think the Cvent team will ask you about how do you want to connect someone if they register. So do we just want to look at email address? If they register with a different name to what we have in Marketo, and maybe that name's coming from your CRM syncing in, do we want to take that name from the Cvent registration and update it in Marketo, or do we just want to take relevant information for the event and just link it to a person based on the email address, for example, these sorts of things. What would the rule be if someone registers from Cvent and they're not existing in your Marketo data already? Do they have the consent and the right information for the consent capture on the Cvent form? All of these things I think you need to understand and map out would be the first bits. I think integration-wise, it's probably not so different to other tools that you may be connecting with, but all of those points I mentioned are just general things to be mindful of and consider when planning an integration with a third-party tool to Marketo.
Yeah, and there's also, of course, a big difference, I think, between different parties that you would be connecting Marketo with in the extent to which they have already pre-built out-of-the-box connectors that are already configured and you just plug and play, versus more of the custom solution that you get with Cvent. And I think there's different levels for every platform that you want to connect. A similar question that I just saw coming in on the chat from Kari is, has anyone managed to establish API calls to pull data from Adobe Connect for interactive webinar? Anyone want to take that one?
No, I know, Kari, this is a topic you always have questions about Adobe Connect and working with that. I was actually having a quick search when I saw your question come in chat, but I've not done it personally myself. I'm assuming from your question you're looking to extract directly from Adobe Connect, not program data from Marketo side that's connected to the Adobe Connect webinar.
That was exactly the question that I had on that one, because a lot of the data from Connect already comes in into Marketo. So it'd be much easier to pull it from Marketo, I think. So, Carrie, if there's anything particular that you can't get from the Marketo end, please sort of follow up with a further comment. Another thing that you already touched on the fact, John, that you prefer to use Postman. Pierre, do you have any insights on what is the most efficient use of your time if you want to get into APIs? What is the platform that you need to sort of wrap your head around? Is it Postman? Is it Zapier? Is it Boomi? Is it Python?
Yeah, thanks. From a Postman and Zapier perspective, I'm pretty familiar with these tools. So Boomi, I haven't really used it, so I'm not going to elaborate on Boomi that much. In relation to learning either Postman or Zapier, it really depends on what you're trying to achieve to start with, and whether you are kind of a technical person, you like code, or you're not a code person. So Postman is great, to understand API of endpoints, payload errors, and also webhook style integration. It also help you testing, Marketo REST APIs, like John was described before, where you can, update programs. You can, in my use case, what I've done recently, integrated from a Marketo instance with no period cost, and with hundreds of programs, I use API to update all my period cost. So that was very, very useful. Another example as well, now I'm using Postman to test my new sync between custom build CRM and Marketo. But this is kind of a more technical. It does automate businesses workflows for you. And it helps you test, learn, and debug and validate APIs. If you look at Zapier is more of a kind of a lightweight operational tool, where you can have quick wins. It's called an iPass, where, for example, you want to pass data from your Marketo instance to the dashboard. I've got a couple of use cases where I've used AI in in Zapier for predictive lead scoring. So that's one use case that I've done. The other one is I've used a lot of surveys, and a lot of stakeholders wanted to have the result displayed on a dashboard. So I was using Zapier to push via webhook, push the data from the actual live collection to a live dashboard. So that was a pretty cool thing to do with Zapier. You can do a lot of things. That Marketo connects to they're saying about 8,000 different applications. I haven't tried them all, but it's a great tool where there's no coding involved, and you can have some great results and impress the stakeholders with those beautiful dashboards.
That's always cool. When it comes to dashboards, the last API question that we had pre-session, that I hate to give it to you, Ruchi, but it's about program member data and how to pull that information from the API to build your Power BI or other sort of analytics dashboards in program performance.
Yeah, it's a very specific use case, and so to create a recurring program member data report using APIs and automatically updating it, so you'll need to build a small automated data pipeline. So that is pulling data from Marketo on a schedule, and then it writes back to either your Excel file or some ETL tool, depending on what is the bulk of exporting the data, or how, like, what is the volume of report that you are planning to generate on monthly or weekly basis. So Excel can be used as a bridge if you have limited set of programs that you are focusing to export the data and build the reporting on. And also, when ETL do you think will become necessary when you have many programs and when you see that data volume is very large and reporting is becoming more complex? And also, if you need daily or real time refresh, so you'll have to probably include any ETL tool as a bridge. So the architecture I would think would look like Marketo data is flowing from Marketo to ETL tool like Fivetran or Azure, and then we're flowing the data into a warehouse, and from there we are flowing the data to Power BI to real-time update of the reporting to just view in the dashboard. So that can be something like we can try. And if we are having bulk API extraction, so yes, I would recommend using ETL tool. But again, like I said, depending on what is the size of your reporting or how many programs you're going to use, or it's going to be every time overridden or fresh reporting is coming to the picture. So you'll have to kind of decide on the architecture based on that.
Yeah, that is a pretty complicated one indeed.
Yeah.
If there's no other questions in the chat about the APIs, which I don't see, let's move on to a different topic that gets a lot of attention lately, and that's the new email designer. Have you guys worked with it yet? And do you have any tips and tricks? Can I start with you, Pierre?
Yeah, sure. So, like you said, it's quite a hot topic. I ran the mag in Sydney last week, and I did a kind of hand raise to see how many people were actually trying out the email builder. And one of my surprises, like about 20% of the room was actually having a go. So that means 80% did not try yet. So just want to, my main tip here is to just have a go. And I've got a feeling, I don't know if it's the panel feeling, but the Marketo community is waiting for Adobe to say, okay, on that date, the current editor is going to go, and then you got 6 months to go, and everybody's going to rush madly into trying to learn, and which is not the case, right? So I think Adobe hasn't set a date yet, but my biggest recommendation is have a go. Get yourself familiar with the interface. The interface is great. I think they've done a great job with structuring the structure, the canvas, the settings, and the assistance. Try a structure where you start using those colors and testing those emails sending to you. I think they have released some great features lately with the brand theme feature for fragments and the templates. So I think that's the key component of be the brand guardian in your entity. Using those fragments, right? Those snippets that have become fragments. So you got a customizable fragment and the fragment. So use those, that they're great tool. The navigation tree is awesome. And I think also they've done very, very smart way where you can have a one pager where you can have all of your settings, the from, email, the CC. You don't have to go into email settings to see if your email is operational or not. So that's very, very smart. They got those excellent features about content locking. You can design a template, send it to your stakeholders, and lock every component so nobody can touch it. Down to you can actually enable the content, the text to be changed. So the granularity of those content locking is awesome. So you can really, without touching the HTML, you can really lock, those different section of the template. The other, I think, great tool is the collaboration tool, where you can tag all of your colleagues and say, listen, I've worked on the email, provide your feedback. They're tagged if obviously they need to have email designer access. So, and then they get tagged. So there's a lot of features, make sure you look at these releases, there's more release coming this month. So make sure you stay tuned. My biggest recommendation is to have a go. Try it now before it's not going to be too late, but you don't want to be rushing.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I think it's important to understand the new terminology, because it's quite different from the way the structure is implemented in the old Forms 2.0 or email 2.0 editor. So getting used to the new way of working, the new terminology, and what it means, the new locking options, that's really important. And you mentioned the brand themes that were implemented in November. I think they are great, although there are still one or two minor bugs in there. And there are other brand guidance and management features coming up soon as well, although I haven't seen them in beta just yet, so I can't really comment on them. But I think one of the things that quite a few customers are waiting for is also planned for this month, and that is the ability to share your templates across workspaces.
Yeah.
While we're on the topic of email, I see a question coming in from Samit about the Marketo deliverability power pack from MessageBird. Do any of you have any experience with that?
Not to the MessageBird. It's been many years since I worked with the deliverability services from Adobe. Though your last note, I get the impression, Samit, that you're expecting different domains rather than the free mail types, but I think that's quite normal from any deliverability provider, that their kind of seed list is built around a lot of the free mail providers rather than your exact customer base. So my experience is that you'll get a lot of QQs and Gmails and Gmail dot whatever, and all the country variants of the free mails, rather than your specific customer base seed list.
Yeah, so I had a brief experience about deliverability power pack for one of my customers. It was when we are working on a scoring model for them, but there were a lot of inconsistencies and misleading scoring reporting because of the deliverability issues that they were facing, and also they were not having concise information about various sources. So this pack, so we got in touch with the Adobe support team, and they implemented it for the client. So we just wanted to understand which is that server or what type of email server provider that they were using, and just to understand how and where was the bounce happened. And so just to understand, the deliverability issues in detail. So I think this feature, this power pack, is very, very helpful because it gives you a summarized detail that which server that your email went, which domain, like Gmail or Yahoo or whatever. So it gives you a very detailed report about it. So you're able to take a guess that which server is kind of creating problems for you. So yeah, not recently, but it was just a few years back.
All right, thank you so much. But it is, I think, a feature that is not very widely used for sure, and maybe not always justly. Also, being conscious of time, moving into the next topic, and that is on forms. Implementing Marketo forms on a company website and making sure that it functions and probably also renders correctly. Melina, have you got any tips on that one?
Okay, so I think the question is probably embedding the Marketo form into your company website. So I think there are a few ways of doing it. Is either you use the landing page, Marketo landing page and form. Otherwise, if you want to embed it, it will be into a iframe format, meaning there is a form and sort of a white landing page. as a background and then is imported in. I mean, I've done several subscription form, very simple subscription form. I think you just need to ensure a few things. Number one is that if this form is actually created globally, and then you are replicating and cloning it into the different workspaces, you might want to actually use a hidden field that will actually route it back with a country value. So for example, I'm based in Singapore, so the country value I put will be SGP. Otherwise, it will route back if you have a global workspace inside there. And if you do not access, the people are just left there. So that is what I would recommend for that. And if you want to track any specific UTM codes, you can also have that in a hidden field in the form, and you can actually then launch it out and then do a test. I mean, you can put your data to just test that you have successfully received it and it is in the right partition or workspace that you have intended. So that would be coming from me. What are the things that you will need to do?
Yeah, some really cool advanced thoughts on that already. I think, Pierre, anything to add from your side?
Yeah, because it looks like in this case it's a global form, and what I've experienced in the past is when you set up your smart campaign, fills out a form, and you look at the operator, if you put the operator as is, right, it's going to capture your data, but if you append UTMs to your URL, it's not going to work. So in order to fix that issue, that kind of issue, you need to change the actual operator to contains. So the form contains. That works, but then you got to look at another potential issue, that is if the structure of the URL is actually common in more than one page, you might have a form submission for 2 pages. So for example, if you go example.com product A and then example.com product A / product B, Marketo is going to get confused. It's going to say, oh, contains this 2 URL containing the same URL, there's 2 submission. So you need to actually write a piece of JavaScript and put it into your landing page head in your CMS, where it's very easy to do. You can really say that the referrer is really the page where the form has been submitted, not the other one. So that's a really crucial topic in terms of attribution and saving times, and that's where APIs come and help a lot. But spending a lot of time understanding why you got that many submissions, why actually it's not the case. So that be one of my bigger life experience in Marketo, having trying to fix those issues with global form.
Briefly, while we're on forms, there's also a question about conversational forms, which actually combines the Marketo forms functionality with dynamic chat. John, have you got any hands-on experience with that?
Yeah, so this is newer-ish, maybe 3 years ago now, probably that it was rolled out. But at the time there was the build out of the dynamic chat. So the dynamic chat worked that you could have a bit of a chatbot that pop up, or you could kind of have a in-page experience. But quite the difference between the classic forms that we've known forever in Marketo versus the conversational forms is that there is a bit of a canvas behind them where you can build a workflow. You can make decisions there that says if someone answers, kind of going question by question, if someone answers this question in such a way, we can route them down a different path. And maybe if they say, what is your the employee size of your company, you could say, okay, if it's above this, it's good. We're kind of fitting out ICP. If not, maybe let's take them down a different path, ask a few more questions to help validate and qualify this customer first before we send them to the right landing page or route them to whatever it may be. So that's quite the difference from how they work. You can make your normal form conversational, so it's a little bit adding connecting features together. So you have your Marketo dynamic chat module. In that you can build the conversational flow, And then when you build your form, you can say, make this form conversational and connect it to that flow process from there. As I said, the difference is rather than having a list of questions, it will ask question by question based on the kind of flow that you build for that. But it will store that data back into the same database fields that the customer has. So it was and is intended to make a little bit more of an engaging experience rather than just saying, here is 20 questions, fill this in before you can get your white paper, whatever it may be. There are a few nice functionality in there as well, as it can just be a question saying, are you looking for help? Yes, no, or help route someone around. Or it can be a question that is like to store that database and enrich a profile or create a profile within Marketo from there. So I think the pre-submitted question we had was just saying conversational form. So if there is anything more and that the person that submitted that question is in chat, feel free to drop a bit more context in what you're looking for or wanting to know in the chat box here, and we can.
Exactly. I think it's a great advanced feature, and it is pretty new. I think we could all make more use of it, Phil.
Agreed.
Switch and tack a little bit again, going into some of the operational processes, and some people in the US will have had some experience last month with a maintenance window in San Jose that caused or was going to cause a Marketo outage, complete Marketo blackout for several hours, which was rolled back at the last minute. But also, I think outages in general, due to maintenance or due to errors. How do you prepare for that? How do you handle that so that you recover quickly after such a thing? Pierre, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's a very, very good question and topic to raise. So from my perspective, my advice to admin, it's to really, when you hear about something that's going to happen in Marketo, an update, or it's really to identify and protect your workflows. It's very important. But the first thing you should do, and now it's available within Marketo, is subscribe to the Adobe status page, where you can see all of the actual updates or the other issue that's happening within not only Marketo, but the Adobe world and what's happening. So and you can look at, you will identify if you are from Americas, your region, and see what's happening. And you can actually, see whether the impact is minor, medium, or major. So the first thing I recommend to do is really have a look at that page, and if your Marketo instance not working or slowing down, have a look at that page to see what's happening before reaching to support. Then I think for the next part is really to create a short list of your truly critical campaign, like operational sense, follow-up, SDR writing, syncs to CRM, lead management, lead assignment, lead life cycle, update and status. So that's very important. And then I think what I will do, I've done is divided that section in 3 different parts. You go the before, the during, and the after. So what I do during the before, I'll kind of segment my campaigns in 2 different tiers. The T1 are the most important, the one that must be running. It's like a writing lead life cycle. And the T2 would be more like hygiene, scoring, and enrichment. And it's hard to say because you don't know how the impact is going to be like that. When I know things going to happen, I can put those campaigns on pause, but let run the more critical campaign. So you want to give some relief to your Marketo instance. The second one, it's also when you have those large, smart, complex, smart lists with a lot of logic into it, and they're live, so they're calculating live. If there's a downstream happening in Marketo, those lists may struggle. So it's hard to tell, like when you inherit from a Marketo instance and those are already built, you're not going to rebuild the whole thing. But for my approach now is more using more static lists in a way, because when I have data in static list, I know it's safe, it's already computed, and nothing's gonna really happen. So that's before. During, the main thing is I just freeze some of the activities. So postpone large imports, those lead scoring, massive lead scoring, or CRM backfills, and even if you're using webhook enrichment, I'll pause that. Then I'll pause the T2 campaigns, which will really give some relief to the Marketo instance. And once it's done, then you think it's completed. You check that Adobe status list page to see if it's been solved. You go to green tick, and then you kind of re-enable slowly, and you can do like a testing campaign, re-enabling all those campaigns that you put on pause, just to really push them forward. So in a nutshell, I know I spoke a lot about different sections, but overall, what I do first is really pause those low value batch campaigns and webhook heavy campaigns. Try to switch to static list, and in my flows, I put the send email or the change status first. Right? I want that to happen to make sure it happens during that downstream, so nothing gets impacted. So I want my SDR team to receive the leads, what happens in Marketo. And then after that, I think the last one is a common sense. If you have long wait steps in your flows, try to change that over to more like batch scheduled campaign. So yeah, that's a bit in a nutshell what I will do.
Right. I can see that we're 2 minutes from time. Ruchi, do you think we're gonna capture the next question about partitioning leads coming in from Salesforce into different Marketo partitions? Or should we leave that for the next audience?
I can cover quickly. I mean, a few quick ideas I can share. Try to share within a minute, if that works. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, about creating leads, getting created in Salesforce, but we want to have them inside Marketo. So, I mean, when I was reading this question, so it was more of a data governance consideration, basically. So we, instead of using just partitions, we should be planning to use partitions, then segmentations and data governance campaigns as well, so that the Salesforce leads, they are protected from general marketing communications until they reach a certain qualification threshold. And it's not necessary it has to be the lead scoring mechanism, so it can be any lead qualification threshold. So when a lead stays synced from Salesforce, so they should be placed in a particular partition, so only programs in that workspace can access them. Yeah, so for example, Salesforce leads are getting created, so just tag them as a CRM lead and create a global suppression list to exclude them from marketing sense, and have a dedicated engagement programs for this set of leads, and assign a scoring threshold then. And so that way you can make them eligible for your demand gen outreach or any kind of marketing communications.
Makes sense. Cool approach. Thank you, John, for adding in the chat that there were some more generic questions about new features and the roadmap. I think you've called out a great session at Adobe Summit that can be attended both in person and online to get more insights on that. This is unfortunately all we've got time for. So thank you all for your questions. Thank you, panelists, for your valuable insights, and hopefully we'll see all of you next time.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.